Let's chit chat, boys. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Let's get the mic like all up in here. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. Whew. It's that kind of morning. It is that kind of morning. We should wake up together. We should. I got a lot to cover today. I'm super excited for what we're going to discuss. I hope everybody's having a great morning. This is the 4th episode of Tea with Unjacked. And I would like to be noted that I'm having a good time. And all 3 episodes, in almost their entirety, has been uploaded to YouTube. So, maybe you're watching this on YouTube. Maybe you're watching this on Twitch. Just know that there is a second place that we call home for these. And it's the Unjacked YouTube channel. Very nice. I did a lot of reading this week. And I was supposed to do the podcast yesterday. But let me just make sure that I cover at least rule number 1. All right. Rule number 1 is I podcast when my mind is ready to go. This is something that I really can't schedule. Because either you're on or you're not. And the last thing I want to do is a poor podcast. So just jumping right in, I was playing a little bit of SoundCloud earlier. It was pretty sweet. Reddit's always my favorite. And I already have some subjects picked out, so it is fairly nice. We're gonna be all right there as far as that goes. Let's see. We got everybody in here? If not, I just want to say good morning to everybody. Welcome to the podcast. We'll be doing half of our stream through the podcast today, and we'll be doing the other half playing some serious balloons, and I can't wait. July has been a great month on Twitch so far. I'm hoping to make it even better as we slip into August. We only have about a week left, and the world is changing at a drastic clip. So, we should talk. We should absolutely discuss these things. You know what I mean? It just makes sense. It makes sense. One topic that I wanted to kind of start off with was soft drugs versus hard drugs. And that line gets blurred almost on a daily basis. Don't worry, I'm not going to read any of these articles to you. Matter of fact, I haven't really read most of these articles. Some of them I have. What they are is they're information pools, I guess you could say, right? And but I think it's important to kind of talk about like drugs and the different kinds of them and everything else because, man, when I was working like in the government, like nobody talks about this stuff, right? Other than don't do them. That was it. There was no like reasons. There was no discussions. And one thing I like about being out into the civilian world is the fact that you can have a greater discussion, right? Because people actually experiment. People, they aren't just told no in the civilian world. So it's kind of nice, right? You can kind of dabble a little bit. Hi, Randomer. Welcome to the stream. What I think is there are plenty of soft types and there are plenty of hard types of drugs. And I have a personal mantra, which I should probably just say right up front. I would never do hard drugs. However, I have done hard drugs. But those hard drugs were prescribed through a doctor for pain management. So opiates in particular, morphine to be specific. I've also had benzodiazepines. I've had those in patch form for pain patches. I have used them, and let me tell you, I've never been more messed up than using opiates. Opiates were unbelievable. It almost like they erased my mind. I could remember once I had gone into, so they had given me Lyrica, in particular Lyrica. They thought I had fibromyalgia, which they still do. And I don't know, I'm not a doctor, so the last time I checked, I'm not Dr. Unjacked. Unfortunately, I should be. But so anyway, I took these drugs. Lyrica pretty much like zapped me. Like if you ever wanted to feel like what it's like to be a vegetable in a wheelchair, Just take Lyrica. Take a high dose of Lyrica and watch everybody in the world watch you and look at you like you're in a cage at the zoo. All right. So, needless to say, I have, in fact, swore those off. I'm done. No more prescribed opiates, not in my world, not in my life. I would almost rather be in the pain than not have my mind. My mind is almost like everything to me. Like, honest to God, like my mind is so far above any other organ in my body, except maybe the reproductive organs, right? That's always the male second, right? I hope, maybe first for most. But the mind is a powerful thing. And when you mess with it, you can have different results. With opiates, I know that my mind doesn't really function. Here, let me try to emphasize this. 3 years ago, had I tried to do this same exact podcast, I wouldn't have been able to get out the statement, "Hi guys, good morning, welcome to the stream." I would have forgot what I was going to say by the third sentence. I can remember I still had to go to meetings with my commander, his commander, generals, and I just shut up. I shut up and let the guys that worked for me speak because I knew that I was in no shape whatsoever to perform at the level I normally do. Anyway, I brought up this article in particular because I like how it kind of defines soft drugs versus hard drugs. And I wanted to just kind of note, anything that's in red for the most part, are hard drugs, right? And what I mean by hard and soft drugs can kill you. With a high enough dose, there is an overdose, like a realistic overdose limit. For instance, and when I say that, I mean like cannabinoids here. Excuse me, I got some hiccups. Cannabinoids, you would have to like simultaneously, you would have to smoke like 15 pallets of marijuana at once. You would have to take such a large dose before you could die from it. Like no one in history has died from cannabis use because the OD limit is so far. Alcohol, you could die from alcohol poisoning pretty easily. I'd say one good night with like a case or two of beer, and it's very questionable. I mean, maybe not beer, but if you were getting lost in like a fifth or two of alcohol, you could easily overdose off of that. That's a no-brainer. We all know that what tobacco and nicotine does for you, right? I hope. That's a long, slow death right there. That's a long, slow death. Now, I believe MDMA can be, if you have pure MDMA and you use it once in a while, I don't think that there are great effects out of that. I would never take ecstasy. I would not take methamphetamines. However, I have prescribed to me. I have ADHD, and they prescribe amphetamines, basically Concerta, Adderall, Ritalin, all those are amphetamines. And what the point of them is a stimulant. It's like a super strong cup of coffee that jettisons you into focus. This is also something I thought was cool to take at first because they told me, they're like, yo, you're going to be able to complete so much stuff, man. You take this stuff, dude, you're going to be like a focus machine. I was like, yo, let me get some of that, man. So I went in, I was, diagnosed with ADHD properly. And then they prescribed a bucket of it. They prescribed a bucket of it. So for 3 years, I was like knocking shit out of the ballpark. I was handling some business. I lost my sense of humor though. Nothing was funny to me. It was all drive. It was all let's go. And it also made me irritable. There's only a few types of drugs that I actually support. I would never inject something in my body for sure. You could argue that caffeine and found in soda, tea, coffee, that is a baseline drug, caffeine, right? I think using sparingly, it's okay. I would also consider sugar. Well, I guess I would consider sugar more of a poison than I would drug, right? But yeah, anything that you can overdose in, I would definitely stay away from it. I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried any of these specifically. I will say that the soft drugs, because I've never had any success with hard drugs, I just don't believe real hard drugs are effective in use cases for like medical. I mean, that could be argued, right? I mean, they are prescribed, right? So maybe in the severest pain, when like you don't care what the outcome is of somebody's like personality, their decision making skills. And I'll give you a great example. My father was a stage 4 cancer, not a survivor, but at the end they were giving him like 800 pills of morphine per month. Like it was such an incredible dose. I couldn't believe. And he told me, quite frankly, he was like, it helps get him through the end, but the marijuana actually helped way more. So, I believe LSD is harmless. It is weird. It is super weird. It will give you chills for sure. But you're talking about an all day good time. LSD is a weird one. A weird one. I have very minimal experience with that. Psilocybin mushrooms. Now, I think this one right here, this is kind of going to branch us off into where the conversation could split, right? They have been doing studies with mushrooms and psilocybin use for a long time now. Even the doctors at the VA, I was talking to one of them, and one of them felt like there was a real possibility for psilocybin being the cure for things like PTSD, depression, and everything else. And I don't know if you've ever experienced mushrooms, right? You could literally, in most places, go out into the woods with an experienced mycologist, somebody that actually knows how to ID psilocybin mushrooms. These are the P. cubensis brand. And come here, Dorian. You want to come say hi to the boys? To the boys? Do you guys hear him meow? He loves saying hi to you guys in the morning. You can go out to the woods. You can find these mushrooms. And you can enjoy it. So mushrooms last anywhere from like 5 to 8 hours. And there are probably 300 strains, 200, 150. And they're all significantly different. The feeling that you get, it's quite... The loadout of a mushroom dose depends on what you want to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and who's bullying you into what. Yo, what's good, man? Hey, man. Good morning. Welcome to the stream, dude. Just riffing off some topics here. So, I would argue. Hey, Bandy. Nice to see you. I would argue that mushrooms are such an effective medicine / like communal attitude adjustment. Like here's the bottom line is, if everybody would just do some damn mushrooms in the world would probably be a happier and more empathetic place, right? Most people that take mushrooms usually have a life-altering or life-changing session, I guess you could say, right? Even at low doses, they have found this to be super helpful for depression, for PTSD in war veterans, and many other groups, such as like rape survivors and stuff like that. It's super interesting what they're doing. If you don't know much about psilocybin mushrooms, because we've all grown up with the same thing, right? Don't drink and drive, so there's your alcohol. Like tobacco is going to give you lung cancer or mouth cancer, so don't do that. Caffeine's going to keep you all up all night. Don't drink coffee at night before bed, right? All that stuff. We've heard it all. And we've all heard about marijuana being bad, or only bad people use marijuana. Well, trust me, I'm a fairly decent person, and I use it on a regular basis. But I would say the most powerful thing I've ever put in my body, beside alcohol, right? Alcohol was just fueling bad decisions. But besides alcohol, psilocybin mushrooms changed my life. Literally changed my life. I could not, but there's a catch to this, okay? And this is something like it's easy to go on a podcast and just start spouting off like which drugs are fun and which ones you should do, right? But at the end of the day, we need to have a conversation about like safety, about when you should do it. And I'll give you some examples of that too. 5 kids. I have a couple that are in their 20s, and I have the rest of them are all teenagers. There's 3 phases to the brain development, all right? And again, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor. So you take what I have as a starting point and you start doing your own research. Then maybe you have a conversation with your doctor. I have had these conversations with my doctors. My doctors understand how much I love this stuff. But at the end of the day, the brain development is the most important part of this to me. Because you only get one shot to develop your brain into like what its final form is going to be. You enter the 3rd phase in your teenage years and you don't really complete the full development of your frontal lobes here. This is where all your decisions are being made, right behind this bad boy. This is where all your good and bad decisions are being made, right here. And that doesn't necessarily stop developing until you're around 25 years old. So at 25, you can finally breathe and be like, yes, I can do drugs. I can do drugs. Hey, speaking of that, I think that's what Dorian wants. Hold on one second, guys. Sir, she'll be gone. She's gone. You want to go down here? The basement calls. For everybody that's lurking and watching, just hello. I'm sorry, I'm not riffing with the community at the moment. I'm just getting lost inside of a topic. I hope that you'll forgive me. So, brain development is the most important factor for me, and this is why I always tell my younger kids, I'm sorry. I wish you could smoke. I wish you could enjoy the benefits of this, especially with me, but I need you to wait just a little bit longer. I need your brain to develop just a little bit more. And it's also, especially for the super young ones, like the first time I ever got really drunk in my life, I was 14. I had paid an adult to go to the liquor store and buy $114 worth of alcohol for me and all my friends. And he did. And, man, I killed some brain cells that night, those nights. I have no doubt about that. I have zero doubt about that. And I often wonder, had I just waited a little bit longer, had somebody just sat me down and said, listen, man, this is how the body works. Your brain's still developing, and it's the only thing that's going to keep you surviving in this world. Right? So I got just enough development, and I didn't kill it with all the drugs and alcohol I did. But at the same time, I don't want my kids to relive my own mistakes, right? Like I said, had an adult like sat me down and said, listen, dude, this stuff's going to make you dumb if you start too early. Maybe things would have been a little bit different, right? I mean, not that I regret anything. I'm just saying in general, perhaps I could have had a little bit more information at my fingertips and I could have made a decent decision. So for me personally, like I don't drink. Like I'd say once a year I have one beer and it's usually at a family gathering. I quit tobacco in 2013, cold turkey, September 2013. I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I chewed tobacco for 17 years and it was nasty. It's okay. I mean, it took me a long time to learn that lesson. Perhaps one day that karma will come back and bite me in the butt. I have no idea. But I did what I could. I quit when I could. And it is what it is. I'm still drinking caffeine. It's caffeine. Look, this is caffeine. Literally the podcast morning. All right. Tea with Unjacked is all about the caffeine. I'm sure I could be doing non-decaf or decaf and just like herbal tea, but that would be a waste. I am a 100% supporter of marijuana and CBD in all forms. I will reiterate one of my psychologist doctors, and she sat me down when we were talking about my ADHD. She may be a behavioral scientist. I'm not actually specifically sure on that. But she looked at me and said, whatever you do, if you're going to use marijuana, please, please eat it. Don't smoke it. And I didn't really understand that. But I do now, I believe, right? Because anytime you smoke something, whether it's like if you're in Saudi Arabia, they have little rolled cigarettes called beedies. Whether it's cigarettes, cigars, beedies, marijuana, whatever it is, when you burn plant matter and it goes into your lungs, it becomes an irritant, right? It inflames your lungs, right? And that's because there's a chemical in plant matter. There's no way I can say it, that's for sure. However, what it does is it doesn't give your lungs any kind of like advantage, especially against something like COVID, right? If you get COVID and you're a smoker anything, it's not good for you. And I'm not going to read this. Well, I did read this article. This article is actually kind of bad, but I'm going to explain why. And I love how the fact that they published it at exactly 4:20 p.m. Very nice. Let's just read the title. Cannabis may reduce deadly COVID-19 lung inflammation. Here's what the title does not say for non-smokers. Like if you are into edibles and you consume orally, I don't think you could actually like inject cannabis into your veins. I don't think you can do that. However, you can eat it in edible form. You can go to almost any dispensary and you can enjoy yourself plenty of edibles. And then they're also talking about CBD. Now, if you guys don't understand marijuana, there's two different like shades of it, I guess. Right? There's CBD, which has less than 0.3% of THC or lower. They're high in CBD. Now, this is where most of your anti-inflammation properties come from. CBD is fantastic. So if people like me that have like pain in their elbows and their joints and stuff like that, or like my neck, I can go ahead and order. I can order up all kinds of CBD. You can actually order it online. I will show you. This is where. What? No. What? Oh, hold on here. LLC. Okay. This is where I get my CBD, and they will mail it to you. They will mail it to you. I mean, listen, I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I'm just saying, like, you can legally order CBD. There's nothing wrong with it in the U.S. Look for your local laws if it's gonna be something else. But listen, you can go through all these strains, and you can buy all the way up to an ounce of each. So what I normally will do is I will order 2 ounces, and I will take 1 ounce and I will grind it down. I will decarboxylate. There we go. That's a hard word to say. And what that means is I will change it from CBD to CBDA chemically in my oven by baking it at 240 degrees for 45 minutes. It will convert the molecules. So once you do that, if you tried smoking this, you will receive zero effect. But so the only way to enjoy the effects after you do that is by eating it. And so I take 1 ounce, I grind it down, I decarb it, and then I cook it in vegetable oil, essentially, for about 6 hours in my slow cooker, just stirring it every 5, 10, 15 minutes. And what I'm trying to do is get the CBD crystals out of the bud, so they bond to the vegetable oil. So no matter what I cook with, I always have about a gallon of CBD oil to cook with. It is that helpful. So I've said all that because that article is not saying that they have tested. There's no studies. There's no nothing. All this article is, this contributor, Emily Erlenbaugh, she is saying that there's enough evidence into the anti-inflammatory effects of CBD when eaten to warrant further research. What? That's a lot of effort to try to convince scientists that they should look at cannabis. Because remember, when you say cannabis, it also includes the CBD, the non-psychoactive, right? It's just one of those things. If you guys have any questions as we go through this, please feel free to jump in. I will definitely talk about it. I'm just trying to get us warmed up. These are things I've been thinking about for a while. And when I saw this article last night, I said, "What? You say what, fool?" I would love to think that my cannabis use would be a huge help if I get COVID. But unfortunately, if you go by the thought process of this article, the answer to that is actually, nah, not really. Not really, because I smoke it all. So if anything, I'm irritating my lungs instead of helping them heal. But I do eat it a lot too. So every week, every Sunday, I try to make a batch of muffins for the week. And I'll just go ahead and throw my CBD oil into them. And, oh, see, here's the other thing. This is the other reason why I prefer eating them anyway. When you eat cannabis, the oil, the crystals, the compounds, it's processed by your liver. And it lasts anywhere from 5 to 12 hours. So for instance, 30 minutes ago, I had an edible. And I will feel that in about 30 more minutes. It takes between 45 minutes and an hour for it to actually hit. But that's because it's got to go through my stomach. The stomach breaks it down. It sends it over to the liver. The liver processes it. It turns it into 11-hydroxy tetramine, I believe is what it is. Anyway, that chemical resides psychoactively or CBD, depending on which type of oil. They're both identically made the same. So you would feel that pretty much all day long. So that's why if grandma needs a CBD pill at 9 a.m., she's probably going to be good to go until bedtime. Generally, she'll be good to go all the way through the day. No problem. But if you smoke it, if you inhale it, it only lasts between maybe anywhere as short as 45 minutes. On the high side, maybe 3 hours. Maybe 3 hours. If you had a really good sesh, yeah, you could probably squeeze 3 hours out of that. Probably. It's interesting. All of this is interesting. And I will tell you, in the last 3 years of my life, I have learned so much, so much about all of this stuff. But it helped me get off all of my prescription medicines. I was taking 20 pills a day. The only pill that I have not been able to successfully get off of, and I think it comes down to just diet and exercise. If I treated my body a little bit better and I went running on a regular basis or whatever, right? I could probably get off my blood pressure medicine. It's an ever slight. It's the smallest dose you can possibly take. And so that's my next goal there. But everything else I've been able to successfully come off of. Yeah, that's a true story. This was actually a great session. Hey, Commie Pickle, what's up? I have a 30.1 BMI, found out last night. It's actually not bad, though. You can fix that. That's reasonably fixable. You figure my BMI is somewhere around 64, 66%. Dude, I'm almost pure fat. Like whatever this, minus the skeleton and like some organs. You know what? This is, how are you alive, sir? Barely. That's the answer to that, is barely. How are you guys doing this morning? I've been enjoying myself. Who needs organs? Not me. Not me. I say let's go down to Mexico and let them harvest them. We don't need them. Yo, is that Aco Highlight Finder? What's up? Wow, nice. Let's see. I'm on my test account. Hey, I like it. I like it. I don't have a test account. Now I kind of feel like I need one. I'm going to make one called Secretly Unjacked. All right, that was not intentional. That was not intentional. Oh, that's name it jacked. Oh, yeah, that's right. Nobody will ever be like, "Who is this jacked guy?" Oh man. Anyway, it's not morning for me, but I'm doing well. All right, that's true. Well, good evening to you. Sorry, that one came out naturally. That one was naturally. Anyway, we're just I was showing off the boys this morning. I got a new background. Got a new logo. Let's see. Can I show you guys the logo? Boom, right there. There's the logo. How sweet does that look? There we go. Let's see. I'll keep it right about there. All right, there we go. Yeah, dude. I need to just dial everything in, but I'm pulling this together, man. Like pretty soon, people are gonna be like, "Yo, dog, did you see? Unjack actually knows how to stream." That background's awesome, dude. I love this background. I love it. Did you make it yourself? No, I made it with my design partner. We are design partners for life. We have chosen that lifestyle, and I hope that nobody will judge us for it. We have decided to design things together. So we talk about what we do is we talk about the project, what the end goal is, and then I kind of drive him like, hey, these are the colors I think it should be. This is loosely what I think I would like to see in the design. And why don't can you tell me what you think? And in return, we go back and forth until we have a solid result. It's pretty cool. So is there a command for tea with unjacked? No, I need to, dude. I need to sit down and really do commands. See, this is why I'm not a good streamer. Because like I know how to show up, I know how to talk on the camera, and even then that's questionable. But I don't know how to deliver amazing assets. Like I don't know how, I just don't know how to make my stream fancy. But I'll work on that. I will, good sir. As soon as I make my other account secretly unjacked. Oh shit, that is a little bit funny. Sorry about that. I had a design partner, but I don't have time anymore. Well, he's been doing design projects with me since 2009. I found him out of a competition that I held for a logo. I held a logo competition on Digital Point forums. I don't know if anybody ever remembers Digital Point, but once upon a time, there was an SEO and marketing community. It's still alive. I know it is. But I haven't been there in years. It's changed so much. And I held a logo contest. I was doing a logo for a lady out in Nevada, and I asked her, I said, you know what? We can have some fun with this. Do you want a lot of choices? She said, yeah, let's do that. And so I put it up there, and he won it. He knocked it out of the park. He is next level graphic designer. I love that man. He's like a brother to me. I just mailed him. I actually just mailed him 4 T-shirts. So he lives in Mexico, and he's an amazing human being. And I make sure that I pay him as much as I would pay an American. Like, I love this guy. And I just mailed him 4 of the unjacked t-shirts, and he loves them. Absolutely loves them. So when he plays a pivotal role in a design, I always like to send him like the end result so he can put it in his hands. Because as an artist, when I see my design work come to like fruition, when I make something and somebody's like, check this out, dude, it's legit, and you can hold it in your hands, whatever it is, I get so excited. That right there is what I designed for. My favorite design work, this is going to be an unpopular opinion. My favorite design work is actually print, such as pamphlets, trifolds, magazines, newspapers. I love print. I'm such a geek for print. Also, are my graphic card processor interconnected, and do they complement each other in any way? Also, my graphic card. So, as far as a computer goes, a graphic card. So, some processors have graphic cores inside of them. They do both. Those are called APUs. APUs. I forgot what the A stands for, but anyway, it's not relevant. If you have if you have a separate CPU and then you have a separate graphic card, they talk to each other through the buses. The buses are like, think of them as digital highways around the circuit board. If you ever held a motherboard and you saw all the traces, all the lines in them, those are also like physical buses. And so there is enough buses for them to talk back and forth. Typically, the graphic card will do anything that is graphic intensive, right? And the CPU will only do calculations. I mean, they're both calculators, but in different ways. The CPU worries more about your operating system. Here, great example. Right now, I'm streaming. My graphic card is worried about the visual outputs, but my computer is crunching the numbers to make the stream possible. Can I have his contacts? I want to work with him too. No, unfortunately, he is exclusively mine. Exclusively. Well, that's a good relationship. I'll ask him. I'll ask him if he wants to take on some side work. I'm not that greedy. I mean, if I could find him more work and he was willing to, but oftentimes he is so swamped because of his talent. But I might have some other designers in my back pocket, and I'll take a look through. I'll see if I can hook you up, dude. It's important to have a good designer. Super important. Anyway, guys, this is actually a good morning. I am like, last night I didn't go to bed until almost 3 a.m. I stayed up and smoked so much oil. I went to bed baked out of my mind, and it was fantastic. I was watching all kinds of videos on YouTube. It didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. I played a little bit of Path of Exile last night. It was good. It was actually really good. We're going to switch gears a little bit. Not about this article. More just about the topic. Just I figure I have it up here. I saw this morning, and I was like, what? I was like, what? You got to be kidding me, man. Jeff Bezos is worth as much as the New Zealand economy. New Zealand has an economy, just so everybody knows. How? Because we keep buying from his company. This guy, it's not even like you could never buy from Amazon again. But you would still be buying from Amazon without ever knowing it. This guy, let's talk about some of the achievements that this guy right here, because of him, have entered our world. He has cut Visa and MasterCard basically out of almost every single purchase. Like, you have your credit card and you buy through your credit card. But Amazon is creating something called Amazon Pay. And once they have enough people connected to it, Visa and MasterCard will probably lose a hefty amount of transactions. He also runs AWS. Now, AWS is Amazon Web Services. Almost all, all major websites host and use its resources. Time to invest. Dude, time to invest big time. So I use AWS. I also am a seller on Amazon. Today, after the stream, I'm going to go back and start putting my products back up on Amazon. I buy from him all the time, right? He's got Amazon Video. He's got what? There's the Kindle. This guy has dug himself into so many markets that he virtually cannot be canceled. You could try to cancel him. He just cheated on his wife, like basically publicly, like a year or two ago, got divorced, and he's still slaying his mistress, as far as I'm aware. People tried canceling him. Nope. This might be like the first human being that can't be canceled. The second one, maybe Putin. Vladimir Putin. Could you imagine just being this level of human where no matter what, you cannot be canceled? You'd be like, oh, you're going to try to cancel me? Shit, I'll just buy your country. Like, what? Dude, he's as realistic as Thanos as it gets. This guy could hire secret armies and just start assassinating world leaders. That's how powerful he is. He's got that kind of money. It's insane, dude. It's absolutely insane. We are not using MasterCards in Sweden because we have Swish. See, that's how the world's changing right there. The world is slowly getting away from some of these old archaic systems like MasterCard and Visa. He's too big to fail and cancel. Boy, am I right? Yeah. That's about the only way you're going to cancel this dude. Not that I condone that. I've been to the dark web, and that shit is funny. The dark web is quite a place. Quite a place to see. I work for him low key. I like it. Yo, boss, can I get $1? Oh, God, that's good. You know, I just wish that I could read articles about him paying well and treating his employees better. Like, that's the only downside from this man that I can see. Like, honestly, I don't really give a shit if he has a giant house and he's Mr. Fancy Pants and everything else. If he just treated human beings well, I'd be okay with that. I love his Blue Horizon rockets. Have you guys seen that? They just look like penises just lifting right off. And I just want to say, like, yo, has anybody told you about that? Like, you know what that design looks like as you take down your pants. You're like, you know what I mean? Sorry, guys. I'm having a good morning. I'm having a really good morning right now. Who's the richest person in your country? Do you know who the richest person in your country is? This is the richest person in my country. There's plenty of others, but this is the richest person in my country. He has an Air Force. I would not be surprised. I could go work for him. If he has an Air Force, maybe he has a satellite communication team. I could do that for him. I could head his satellite communications. Sir, I only get paid about $225,000 a year. Do you mind? Holy shit, 44 million. Oh, geez, nice, dude. Yeah, I saw that. I read that article. All right. I just kind of wanted to point that out. Because I don't know if everybody's heard, but he made something like $19 billion in one day. But that's because his company is worth so much money, and any wild swing in the market is going to do that. When you start messing around with like billions and trillions, it just happens. You get that wild swing, and one day you're like, "Holy crap! Mark Zuckerberg just made 18 billion in one day." Literally, it's because Facebook's stock quadrupled. That's it. You know what I mean? That's how that works. It's the law of numbers. I'm pretty sure. What else we got? There was a few other topics that I really wanted to dive into. Remember, you guys can always. Oh, okay. We always do a coronavirus story. I mean, we're not going to do a story. This is just more. This is more about the broader topic about who does this, man. That's what I want to know. Who does this? And the answer is Americans. And I'll explain my answer. Who is holding people accountable? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Americans are not. So this man says roommate kept COVID-19 diagnosis secret. So basically, I'm going to paraphrase it, right? Because I've already kind of read the gist of it. But basically, so this one woman has, or man has, no, it was a woman. Woman has COVID. She doesn't know for like 21 days. She goes and gets the test done, doesn't get her results back for 21 days. But during that 21 days, she continues to go to work. She goes on as normal in her life, and she doesn't tell anybody. She ends up infecting 16 other people before she knew she was positive. 16. I mean, listen, it's a shitty person to begin with, okay? But I also believe heavily in the statement that desperate people do desperate things. That's just what happens. Yeah, it sucks. But it is, it is what it is. I want to believe that we live in a world that is a little bit better, right? Just a little bit better. The people out there not telling people they have the coronavirus. I understand that a lot of people are having trouble collecting unemployment. A lot of people are finding it almost impossible to basically find any kind of help when they get a COVID diagnosis, right? They keep on having to go to work. There's no money to pay bills. They need food stamps. The government has done everything they can to make this as difficult as they can for people to provide for themselves and their family when they get sick. And it's super stressful. Super stressful. It's just one of those things where I think that you should have the decency once you feel like you have, if you go in for a COVID-19 test, you should quarantine yourself. Everybody should be notified. You should immediately be quarantined. Sadly, though, most people just don't have. Have you ever done a poll test? A poly test. No, I've never had to because I've never held a top secret clearance. Usually when you go in for the top secret, you get the poly test, but I've only held a secret clearance. I'm trying to think. Also, if you go over to be a federal agent in the military, they also give you a poly. So I almost went over to Air Force Office of Special Investigations. That would have been a federal agent position within the Air Force. And they did tell me if I was accepted or during my submission, I would have to get a poly. The poly compass? I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, sir. But no, I've never had to do that or anything like that. The most I've ever done, it was right before I retired. About a year before I retired, I was required to political compass. A political. Wait. Are we talking about a lie detector? Or are we talking about something else? Where do you stand on the political compass? Is this it right here, Kami? This is interesting. This is super interesting. I mean, I know where I stand on the political compass. I would say I skew pretty progressively. I did those for like 3 hours once. Holy crap, dude. That's crazy right there. But generally generally I'm just a progressive type of person. I skew probably very socialist and very progressive. Where the funny thing is, like 10 years ago, I would have skewed myself conservatively. But I think as I've gotten older and I've experienced things in life and I've just grown as a person, I realize that it's not just about me. Like everything in life is connected. Your neighbor is connected to you. And when he fails, you, in a roundabout way, fail as well. So I don't know. I take a different approach in a lot of life decision making. Anyway, I just hope that these people right here with the COVID-19 diagnosis, like even if you go take a test, I think you should at least be decent enough to tell somebody. Like even at one point, I had a friend that was not feeling well and told their boss they shut down their restaurant for like 4 days until the test came back. Like they did the right thing. They thought one of their employees was sick with the COVID and shut down. I used to be socialist, but I switched. I should know democratic socialist, not like Venezuela socialist, like Bernie Sanders type of socialist, democratic socialist. Because I firmly believe that we can do good things, but we should help each other out. And I know a lot of people go to like, well, you're always going to have these dirt bags over here just collecting a welfare check. And I think it took me a while to think about that as that's just the cost of doing business. I don't know. I tell you guys all the time. I sell filter bags, right? I sell filter bags and yeah, that's center left. Okay. And I could sell 100 packs of these. And inevitably, there's going to be between 1 to 5% returns, issues, something that requires customer service. It's not ideal. Ideally, nobody would have any issues. They would accept my filter bags, use them, and press on. Well, has Dirtbags found a loophole in the system? Well, it's not just that. Like, for whatever the reason is, right? Whatever the reason is, that 1 to 5% that buy my filters and want a refund or something like that, it's calculated into my business. But I would say that you would find the majority of human beings would like to actually do something with their lives. If they found themselves in a better position where they didn't have to necessarily worry about perhaps like childcare, school costs, discrimination, whatever would impede them from being something or doing something. I just feel like if we removed those obstacles, the majority of people would want to do something. But when you're stuck in a very oppressive system in some areas, I think it's very hard to get out of your own way. So as a society, for the greater good of society, I feel like we should have a 1 to 5% expectation that there will be people that either use the loopholes, fall between the cracks, don't want to go to work, don't want to produce, right? It's going to happen. But the majority of people will want to do something because to not is inhuman, right? I think it's just one of those things. It's one of those things. If you accept it and you accept that you're going to have a 99% or a 95% success rate, like there is no system that's 100% perfect. And I just wish people understood this. There's no system. Not everybody graduates at the end of the year, for high school or 8th grade. There are people that need to still go to summer school. Not everybody has what it takes. And I think the unfortunate people, the disabled people, the elderly, the ones that just have issues for whatever reason, let them stay home. It's okay. Not all of us need to be out there. Well, poverty was made by government so that they can get your votes. I used to feel that way. And to some degree, I do feel like there is a little bit of truth in that statement. And let me explain. Hold on, it says, I was right, libertarian. Like, everybody has their own position, right? And I'm not trying... Listen, the last thing I want to do is try to change your mind. Only you can get there through education, experience, and everything else. So that is never my goal. I will respect your opinion, but I'm also going to give you my opinion in these cases. I think poverty was not necessarily made by the government. I think poverty was created by corporations. See, I don't actually think the government is really at work here. I think it's the elitism. I think it's the actual billionaires, the corporations, because they don't want to pay us a lot. They only want to pay us minimum wage. They literally write almost all the legislation that gets voted on here in America. They are the ones keeping us down. They don't want to pay us a lot. They want to make as much money off of every single one of us as possible. A lot of people are pointing their fingers at government, but I don't believe that that is the case. What is happening in our government is all of the executives from these companies that have been fleecing us all these years for our entire lives. They're now sending their executives into the government to work. Specifically, our legislators, our executive branch, they're influencing it at an all-time high. I literally worked for the federal government for 20 years. I've worked with a lot of agencies. And I got to tell you, there's not a lot of people there trying to screw over other Americans. They're just people like me and you, just trying to get by, trying to do a job. I wish more people understood that conspiracy theories kind of hurt us in a lot of ways. And speaking of that, if you guys haven't seen this, and hold on, I'll read the chat in just a second. But I would like to just note, I think this is amazing. Last week tonight. That should be enough to get me there. Right here. I'm not going to play the video, right? Whoa, right there. Let's go back. Right here. This is you should watch this. Anybody should watch this because I think it's an important topic. We have allowed our media to be taken over also by corporate interest. Like I said, be scared of the corporate, not the government. You will never see a rich guy rob a bank. Nope, no need. He'd rather you do it so he can profit off of the prison he just bought. Yeah, it's pure corruption. That's exactly what it all is, right? We need money out of politics around the world, specifically my country, though. Once money is out of politics, I think we can get along a lot better. After all, politics and business are basically the same thing. In so many ways, it is. In so many ways. But you just have to know when somebody is gaslighting you. If you know when somebody's gaslighting you, you'll be so much better off. I changed from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party in 2013, and I've never looked back. What do you think about UBI? I think it's necessary. I think we can do more good with people that aren't slaving away making hamburgers for other people. Sorry, I forgot to say it. The richest man in Sweden is Ingvar Kamprad. I've never heard of him. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for sharing that. I think UBI is necessary. I think Andrew Yang is very correct. While I did not support his presidential campaign in the slightest, I appreciate that he started that conversation. And because I think if you replaced people's income with UBI, I really think that they would find more purpose in their community. I think they would find more rewarding activities to do. Nobody wants to work at Wendy's. They do it because it's the only job in some places. But if somebody could volunteer, maybe work with children in exchange for UBI, and they don't have to worry about their income changing or anything like that, I think that would just be amazing. I think that would bring people in line. He's the person that made IKEA. Oh, that makes sense. IK, and then I don't know what the EA stands for, but those are his initials, IK. That's pretty crazy. I've never been to an IKEA. Not yet. Not in my life. Sweden doesn't have an estate tax. That's unfortunate. That is actually unfortunate. I do believe in estate tax. I didn't once upon a time. But when you see generational wealth growth like we do, it's too crazy. Like that money eventually just pools right up to like a few people. You never get it back. So I believe in an estate tax big time. Like it's okay to pass on a little bit of money, but I don't think it's okay to pass on all of it. UBI is the best thing ever. I want it so badly. I do too. I mean, I think everybody should have it. Let the robots. Let's build all the robots to flip burgers and make my fast food. Let's make robots to take all of these crappy jobs that nobody really wants. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to do half of these jobs. Like I know people that wanted to grow up and be a flight attendant. They thought it was just fun to fly to all these cities. Those jobs don't need to be replaced. But replace the ones that are meaningless. There's so many people doing meaningless work that it's silly. Why? Shut it down. Let them go and enjoy their life. Everybody here, this is your only life. I'm letting you know right now. You can argue with me about that. You will never exist again. This is it. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you're going to want to do meaningful things. So enjoy the next, I don't know, for me, I have about 30 to 40 years and then I'll be dead. I will never exist again in any form or capacity. My life force will be gone. Yours, maybe in 60, maybe 80 years in some cases. I'm not saying that to like scare you or anything. I'm just saying that because if you think like that, like listen, if that's not true, maybe there's a heaven, maybe there's a hell, maybe there's reincarnation. I don't know. But I don't really have time to think about it. Because in my world, right now, I'm going to have the next 40 years to exist. And that's how I live my life. Like, it would be cool if there's some shit after this. I mean, it's not like I would get there and be like, I'm good. I'd be begging, be like, yo, listen, I know I was wrong. And I know I said some things about not believing in y'all, but can I get in? We have like 3 IKEAs in Serbia. Really? That's crazy, dude. We have some here in the US. I've just never been to one. There's nothing there. I can't think of anything in IKEA that I would want. Hey, what's up, guys? Nice to see you. Robots Pog for sure. Hiya. Oh, man. Inheriting all the wealth from your family is unfair. I agree. Because some of that wealth should, Like when you die, you should want to give back to the community that has treated you to everything in your life. Like where you live, listen, this is another good way to live. Like if I die and my town came to my house and said half of that should go to the community. We provided roads for you. We provided a life for you. We provided everything you needed to get from point A to point B. You can keep half for your family because they've done a lot for you too. But the community deserves a piece back so we can use it for other people. I don't think that's a bad trade-off. I don't think that's a bad trade-off at all. Half of your stuff should go back to your community. So other people, your descendants, can directly benefit, and everybody can. Hold on, inheriting all your wealth from a family member, unless you believe in an afterlife, you'd be a bandwagon for sure. You're like, hey man, you just know us because we just won the last Super Bowl. Hear a video about how made his IKEA empire really aspire. Check it out, dude. I will check it out. Thank you, I appreciate that. Gary, I know you, and yeah. Hey, luckily, luckily, OBS gives you a preview to all links before you click on them. Yeah. So anyway, those are some of my politics. Those are some of my leanings. I think conspiracy theories are fun, but I think once they become real or real to some people, I think they become weaponized and really bad for the community at large. So, you know, like I said, I'm not here to change your mind. I like to think a little bit deeper. I like to take a situation and I like to really kind of like undress it a little bit, really break it down and get in there. I don't really have time for like surface conversations. Like, hey man, that was a pretty good show, right? Yeah, man, it sure was. Like, I don't have time to have that conversation. But if you want to drive down and you want to discuss like the underlying like parts of something and like how we got from point A to point B, like I'm always down for that. I can talk all day long. You guys know this. Yeah, I always hover over links. It's just, you know, the smart thing. That's why I don't really do much on mobile, because you can't hover on mobile. It sucks. Man, I'll tell you what, these once I study for these morning podcasts like this, it just becomes so good. So good. I absolutely love it. Check out the first games. That guy is dropping some red pills all the time. Really? Really? I've never seen those. I just kind of like, I don't know, like I like to paint myself as a realist. I understand now that I'm in my 40s. I understand how the world works a little bit better. Man, I didn't realize how ignorant I was because I grew up so poor. I'll give you a perfect example. I'll tell you, I was so high on my couch last night, and this was the thought I had. There are different layers of people. Almost like a 7-layer bean dip. All right. There are different levels. I was thinking about, this is why, because some of my kids are going to university, like a real university. Like if you were to Google the University of New Hampshire, every state has their own state university, right? It's huge. It's almost its own freaking city. It's ginormous. And I thought to myself, I never even knew those type of people exist. Like I grew up in Connecticut, so our state university is UConn. And I was playing at a very different level. So because I was poor and where I lived, it was pretty much almost predetermined that I would be a blue collar worker, not by an organization or a person, just by life, by my environment. I was environmentally limited. Now, you could argue that I could have pushed through that, but my family was still poor. They wouldn't have been able to pay for my college. Even when I was like 17, my dad and mom looked at me and they were like, listen, we're sorry, but there's actually no college for you. And then I realized, like, oh, shit. So I can't go to art college like I would hope because I love to paint and I love to draw. And they said, nah, actually, we don't have any money. And then I was a barber. I was working in a salon as a licensed hairdresser. I was barbering. And I was making good money, but there was no way up. There was no way up at all. There's a ceiling there. I would never have made more than like $100,000 a year, $100,000 a year after maybe like 30 years cutting hair. The bald barber, yes, but the bald barber always grows a sweet ass pencil beard, so he looks cool, fresh, and urban. So that's the way I would have gone. If I was still barbering, I'd have me some of the sweetest vanilla ice beards you've ever seen. Sideburns only? Hey, so I did mess with that. I messed with my wife once. I had a beard and I had a little bit of hair up here, and I shaved and I left only the sideburns, and I left it that way for an entire day. Oh my God, it was so good. It was so good. I wish I had pictures of it. I do not, though. Never trust a fat dietitian and a bald barber. Hey, the bald barber can't help it, but the fat dietitian absolutely could have taken their own advice. It happens, man. It happens. So anyway, I was thinking about the 7 layers of people, right? I was in the bottom layer. And then, like, if you happen to have just enough money to go to university, like my daughter's having a very different university education than her upbringing allowed. So she moved from like the lowest band of humans into the second. Because those second, that next layer is white collar, generally. Right? And those people make a little bit more money than that bottom like band. And then some of those university people actually get successful either on their own or in corporate life. And that goes into the third band, right? So the third band of people typically make like 250,000 and above. Anyway, I was just having this thought. You could work your way up the bands. I don't think I need to do that for you. But I was just, it's just, you're also insulated from other bands. So like rich people don't know what it's like to be in the lowest band. And vice versa. Like that's why most poor people, when they win the lottery, within like 10 years, if you go back and you go through like how they spent their money, where they are today, they're all broke. They've all filed for bankruptcy, and only like 1 or 2 of them were mentally or financially equipped to handle that win. So it's a very interesting dynamic when you think about like how different somebody that makes substantially more money than you is. That's why like Kanye West is so fucking crazy. Like he's absolutely mind-numbing crazy. Literally, he's bipolar. I firmly believe they are right. I might want to share my story, but I understand life didn't give you a good starting hand. Well, you know, it's what you make of it. I was able to transcend from that bottom band into that next band. And I was able to bring my children up into that next band because of my hard work. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's hard for most people to transition from one band to the other. That's why like a lot of people here in the US, I'd say the overwhelming majority of people in the US make $40,000 a year or less. Those that are making like 100 grand, I would say 100 grand is when you get into the second band of life. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't know if you guys ever think of life like this, but I was having that moment. This really wasn't going to be part of the conversation today, but I was just, hey man, I just talk about whatever comes to my mind. I don't really care otherwise. Not gonna lie, life gave me a good starting hand, and I feel like I don't appreciate it enough. Well, you can't. I firmly believe that you are unable to appreciate that. Because if you've never been in the band below you or further down, you're never going to understand what it's like to be like that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think, like, I feel the same way. Like, there's some people out there, like, I can understand what it's like to be in the next band below me because I spent the majority of my life there. And so I can appreciate what I have today. But like my kids can't appreciate how I grew up because they'll never experience that. They can see it on TV. They can go to their cousin's house in the Philippines and they can see like what poverty really is. But at the end of the day, they don't themselves live it. Does that mean you can't appreciate it? I don't know. I'm sure you can to some degree. I don't know if you can fully appreciate it. Maybe that's what my point is. All right, what we got here? Hey, what's up, Commander? What's happening, dude? Yeah, it has been a while. I hope you're doing well, man. This is the new morning podcast. We're doing well. We're doing well. This is podcast number 4. Super excited. Tea with Unjacked. I'm just enjoying a glass of tea with my favorite people in this entire world, or at least in the streaming world. And then we break for lunch. And then we go on and we pop some balloons. I think that's the way life was meant to be done, right? Life gave me a very bad starting hand, but I am grateful for it. Yeah, I mean, it could always be worse. Trust me, whenever you think that your situation is bad, and it probably was in many cases, there's always going to be somebody that has it worse, and there's always going to be somebody that has it better. We don't control who our parents are. We don't get any kind of say what we come into this world with. But all I can tell you is surround yourself with the best people you possibly can. I think who you surround yourself with absolutely has every single effect on who you become and who you are. So for me, I only want to be surrounded by very positive people and people that are excited to do things. I find when I'm excited about things and I find somebody that shares that same like set of goals, I just find myself completely just entrenched into a project with that person. Or like, I don't know, just I like surrounding myself with people that are like me, essentially. I want to be happy. I want to be positive. I want to be successful. I'm so driven. And I wouldn't want to be friends with somebody that was like an Eeyore or somebody that told me I'll never make it or didn't support my efforts. That would be a tough thing. So I think, even if you're born, yeah, it is so true. I think if you're born in an unfortunate position, I still had the right people around me. I had enough positive go-getters that showed me there is a way. There's absolutely a way. And I think that could be applied to anything. Like when I was, for my career, I surrounded myself with people that were intelligent, people that knew how to work on equipment, people that shared my same work ethic. That's what I did. And I was highly successful at what I did. Wow, this is a lot of self-reflection this morning. I did not mean for that. Hopefully I'm really hopeful that this is interesting for you guys to listen to. I hope that Tea with Unjacked does not disappoint. You're actually good at podcasts, man. Keep it up. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, I've been doing podcasts since 2012. I took such a long time off, though. But this is something I would like to do. I admire people like Joe Rogan. I may not agree with all of his viewpoints, but I admire things that they have built because they are always things that I wanted to build, but I was inevitably too poor to build them. I wasn't in a high enough band to achieve those specific goals. And no matter how many positive people I surrounded myself with, it was still unachievable because I didn't have the money. I am actually in the position of my life that once you get into like the second band up, you can start investing in yourself and you could actually project yourself into a third or even fourth band. I would say it's super rare to see somebody like Kylie Jenner. Is that her name? Kylie Jenner? The one with the makeup line? She was probably living somewhere in the fourth, maybe the third, top third, maybe fourth band for her entire life. She has no idea what it's like to be us. But because of her situation and her ability to invest in herself, she really jumped up to probably that second to last layer, which is layer 6. I think only men like Bezos, Jeff Bezos, can live in the highest tier. We will never understand what it's like to have that wealth. Like to me, has anybody ever seen that show DuckTales with McScrooge or Scrooge McDuck? I think his name was, right, and his 3 nephews, Donald Duck's nephews. And anyway, he's always swimming in his money. I mean, it would kill you, obviously, if you dived into gold coins. But he would swim in his money. And I thought to myself, that's what it must be like. That must be exactly what it's like. You have a bank right next to your house. And every morning you go for a swim through your money and you start your day. Simple as that. Oh, man. I don't know. Everybody has a different thought of wealth, I guess. I'm sharing mine. I hope you guys don't mind. I really enjoy doing this. Let's see. Did we have any other? Oh yeah, we were going to get into police reform too. I think police reform will probably take us out because it's kind of a long topic. How long have we been streaming for? Almost an hour and a half, dude. This goes by so quick. I love it. 94% of Americans say it's time for police reform. I don't know who those 6% of Americans are. I would imagine they all have COVID right now. But the truth is, we've needed police reform for a very long time. We have trained here in the U.S. I don't know. I can't speak to your country necessarily. But I would love to hear from you guys. How are your police forces? Have they gotten out of control over the years? Like they've been out of control since my entire life. I grew up in the inner city kind of life, and the police there were always pretty aggressive. But I think the defining point for me when it came to understanding what the police were doing here in America was. So the Iraq War kickoff was 2001. It was December 2001 when we actually put forces on the ground. I believe that to be accurate. I could be off. It's been a long time. Then Afghanistan started in 2003, I believe, like officially. And we had spent billions and billions and billions of dollars over the years on everything from vehicles to munitions to pretty much anything you could think of. Anything an army or an air force or a navy would need. Boats, you name it. And then we finally took them to war, but the military got used to having all that money. So the last thing they wanted was to return the materials back to the military. The military don't want that. They want to buy new tanks. They want to buy new boats. They don't want to use the stuff that they just went to war with. Ew. That's like so last year. And so what they did was they transferred as many assets I think it was estimated between $4 to $6 billion worth of military war fighting assets to local police departments throughout the U.S. All they had to do was have some form of loose justification, and the military would literally ship all of the materials that they requested, whether it's a tank, whether it's bulletproof vest, fatigues, guns, whatever it is, whatever they wanted that we had. And we transferred all of this military gear to all of these there's small little police departments that literally have a tank that say police across it. And they police their communities with these. They actually policed their communities with military gear. And then they're wondering why the people turned out the way they did. In Vietnam, we hate everyone equally, as you should. Jesus. I would actually be a little scared. I'm going to be honest. Like, when I think of Vietnam, if I was in, like, Ho Chi Minh City and I was just chilling and I got arrested, I would be very scared. I do not feel like I would be treated very well. You're actually good at... oh, no, sorry. In Netherlands, they're really good. Nice, dude. I'd be confident in Netherlands. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to come and hang out in Netherlands. I like that. I think I'm just going to play standard. Good, dude. Hook it up, man. Let me see. My country is too poor for police. But you guys have police. I've seen them on YouTube videos. I know you have them. So we don't have a big law. There's no jail. We just eat you. Oh, Jesus. Actually, I have seen what the street vendors are selling over in Vietnam, and that scares me as well. I would actually believe that I might get eaten. No, I know. But they're all bribed. Let's see. They're all, yeah. So you don't have really like effective police. I would say you can pay the police to go away. I could do that in the Philippines. I could easily buy my freedom in the Philippines. So I'd imagine it's quite similar. And listen, I never wanted to deal with the police in the Philippines either, because I knew that I would have to give them money to go away. So I always kept a little bit of cash on hand just in case, because you just never know. You never know when you might have a really bad day. And again, that goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning. That's just the cost of doing business. My freedom in Vietnam is less than $50. I'd feel very comfortable with that. If at any time I was in an iffy position and $50 was the difference whether I was good or not, I'm paying that $50. My point with all the equipment transfers in like 2003, 2002, 2006, like all of those equipment transfers affected a lot of inner cities, a lot of people that are in unfortunate positions. And those are generally in the US, people of color. Hey, speaking of that statement right there, Aiko, I don't usually ask this question, but I'm just curious. And if I don't ask it right now, I'll never remember to ask it in the future. So the Vietnam War thing definitely happened, which means that you had quite a lot of different Americans in your country. Are there black people in Vietnam? Are there black Vietnamese people that were born from like black soldiers? Or I mean, any color in particular. But like, fun story, police in Vietnam don't care about rule. We join, want money. Dude, that's all it is. It's a power play. Yeah, a lot of black Vietnamese. I thought that was kind of interesting. So I lived in the Philippines, right? They had Air Force bases there too. And it was the same situation. You have all color in Vietnam. Dude, that's awesome. I would say that's one of the one things I absolutely love about being in the US is there are just so many different shades of people, so many different backgrounds. I could go down to the city and have 20 different types of food. I could have hundreds of different types of conversations. I actually really like communities that are very diverse like that. So I was just curious. But you're in a different area. No worries, man. Because in the Philippines, once in a while, I would be in the grocery store, and there would be a black Filipino just speaking Tagalog, and they were born and raised there, and that's all they knew. And every time I saw it, I just got tickled inside. I was just like, wow, it's amazing how life evolves, life spreads, and I think diverse locations are super important for growth. Chinese in Chinatown, Vietnam zone, black and black area, etc. Yeah, like for example, here in my state, there's only a couple Asian stores you can go to, and typically they're all owned by Chinese families. However, there's one large one in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it's owned by a Vietnamese family. And they look like I don't know them and I'm not friends with them. But if I was friends with them, they look like they would be some of the most fun people to hang out and have a drink with. I could imagine these people karaokeing the shit out of whatever song comes on. They look so friendly and nice. Maybe eventually I'll get to know them. Different part of Vietnam for different skin colors. You guys actually separate, like segregate? It's not intentionally done, I hope. Vietnam never had any point where someone will be racist or own a gun. Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, racism is super ugly anyway. No one can do anything bad because we can't even afford $50. Oh, shit. I never even thought about that. So everybody's on their best behavior over there because they can't afford the $50. You can live in Vietnam for a month for $30? Dude, that's so low. I think there's a lot of people that live overseas that think that the US is like this bastion of wealth. Like somehow all Americans are wealthy. I mean, incomparable. Like if I took my pay, my American pay, and I went over to your country, I would live like a king. I understand that. But if you take that same pay and you try to live in America, it is extremely difficult, if not almost impossible to do. It costs a lot of money. Like if I told you how much money I had to pay per month to live in my house, you'd be like, what? You can go to YouTube and look for a $1 budget living in Vietnam. I might actually do that. That would be an interesting thing to see. It's so fun. Like I said, I watched that best food review show ever with Sunnyside, and he has a pretty prolific YouTube channel, and he lives in Vietnam. I think he lives in Saigon or just outside. I think I'm not actually sure, but anyway, it's a great view into Vietnam. So I highly recommend his channel to anybody. Here, we'll look it up right now. How about that? Since I have it up, just so you guys can see, best food review show ever. Here we go. Right here. Ooh, let's not play it. Now, he does travel to other countries and everything else, but he lives in Vietnam. So right now, during the lockdown, the quarantine, all of his videos are all done in Vietnam. So he just travels around, and it's such a great look. So if anybody's curious, if you're watching, you're like, hey, I would love to know what it's like in Vietnam, or to eat on the street, or have a good banh mi or something like that. This show is freaking great. Please have a watch. Make sure you subscribe to it. I think it's worth it. Well, I don't often do that, but I really think it's worth it. We live all together, but the different races don't interact that often. So they kind of just like stay together. I live in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City too. Yeah, well, you probably live right down the street from this guy, or you probably know who he is. Still a sub to nice. Yeah, this guy is pretty cool. Dude, if you could get on his team, his like editing team, dude, I don't know if you have that kind of background. His team is doing big things. This guy right here knows exactly what he's doing. He is going to be a self-made billionaire, or at least a lot of money. And he's having a great time. I've never lived in Vietnam, but I would. I would actually live in Vietnam. And besides, Asian girls are cute. I mean, let's be real. No one is self-made. You don't think so? You don't think that it's possible at all to be self-made? Or are you going to take the more reflective? I have 3 years of editing experience. Dude, you should go and try to get on his team. If you seriously live like right near him, he's doing big things, man. All right, I'm back. Nice. Glad to have you back. Self-made means you can do everything yourself. Okay, that's true. So if you want to take it from that like bare bones level, right? Somebody had to educate you. Somebody had to put clothes on your back. Somebody had to drive you to school. So I get it. So from that look, but if it was your idea, your passion, your project, your driving, right? I think to some degree you can loosely say mostly self-made with the support of your community. Can you have that like support of your community in there? Yeah, that's true. Like I agree though. I agree from that point of view. No one can truly be self-made if you take the hard line. If you take the hard line approach to that, that's true. But he's put a lot of effort into it. He's spent years of trying to make videos on YouTube, and I would argue that he has one of the very best YouTube channels on YouTube. I know he's only got 5.25 million subscribers, but that is so impressive. That is so impressive. And he shot some videos for the Food Network. Wait, Travel Channel, the Travel Channel. Cooking channels are cool. I think so too. When they're done correctly. Not all of them are done correctly, trust me. Some of them are a couple rednecks in their kitchens frying up some chicken. Hey y'all, you want to come in here for some food? Who wants the gizzards? I like Kent Rollins. I have never seen Kent Rollins. I have never. Let me see. Kent Rollins. Just curious. We're going to pull it up. Oh, I'm sorry. I only know him as the cowboy. I love this channel. So I'm a huge fan. Got to go have a great day. Hey, Commander, thanks for hanging out with me, man. I hope you like the podcast. It's going to go up on YouTube later. I hope you have a good day, man. This guy right here, I'm sorry. I am not subscribed to him. Let me fix that real quick. I have seen his videos so many times. I actually enjoyed this chicken fried steak one right here. I thought that was a good one. He's got a lot of good ones, man. Oh, and how to clean a cast iron pan. This was a great video too. So he really breaks it down. It's such a good channel. Such a good channel. He is absolutely wholesome. I mean, but I almost feel like you kind of have to be that wholesome in order to rock that kind of mustache. Like, I don't feel like you can rock that kind of mustache and get away with it. Does that make any sense? I feel like that's a true story. All right, let me wrap up here with the let's jump right back to the whole police force thing real quick. We're going to bring this back around. I am hoping that all these protests actually accomplish police reform. We need it so badly. Last week, my governor in my state actually did sign off on police reform. But that reform only is the tip of the iceberg, such as barring chokeholds, barring certain types of activity. It's a stepping stone. I really hate half measures. Like half measures to me, should not exist. But the older I get, the more I understand what the need for half measures are. I didn't understand that change was very difficult for people. And change, I did a whole like podcast on it once. How change is hard. I actually wrote a full article about how hard change is. And for some people it's too radical to just change overnight. But I do hope that on a yearly basis, or at least often, we come back to the table and we add we add or expand definitions to like police brutality, things they shouldn't be doing, things that we should expect from them, like serving and actually protecting people. Policing has gone the wayside of unions, and unions, for the most part, are good. But I actually do not think police unions should exist with the type of power that they have. There should be no immunity for police officers. There's usually a very distinct difference between a police officer killing somebody out of self-defense or out of need versus out of like discrimination or hatred. I think an autopsy in more ways than not will show whether the police officer dropped 90 bullets into somebody's back or a couple well-placed bullets into a chest cavity facing them. Like, I know it's not something you want to think about, but autopsies are generally pretty good at seeing like how somebody died. Like, was it proper or was it not? There's no systematic police racism. No, it's a culture thing, and not necessarily to the police officers themselves. I was directly affected by this in so many ways because if you go to your local police officer or your police department in your area, in your town, your city, whatever it is, I would say 6 or 7 out of 10 of those police officers are going to be veterans from the military. We receive all of this training throughout all of my years. You get different types of tactical training, weapons training, hand-to-hand combat training, and a lot of that is brought over in many cases. Right? So you get that long, like, because in the military there's really very little punishment. Because you work for the federal government. You don't work for the state government. So very rarely do you have a whole different set of laws to live under, right? You live underneath the federal government. So not only do you bring that level of military training to the police force, but then on top of that, then you got all the military equipment that we've given to the police force. And then you have a union on top that makes it almost impossible to punish or even fire a police officer. There's too many layers to, and then you have natural racism here in the US. We have pockets all over the United States where white people hate black people, or black people hate white people, or Mexicans are the target of the day, or Jewish people, or Irish people, whatever. Like no matter what your skin tone is, no matter what, what ancestry you have, there's going to be somebody that hates you for some reason here in the US. It's almost like a delicacy for Americans to stereotype and to have a nice racist go-to joke in your back pocket about the person that just cut you off in traffic or the person that screwed you out of something. Like, that's the way it works here in the US. But then those people end up in the military or the police force, and they extend that racism to when they pull you over or they bust your door down or whatever it is. Like, there's so many prongs to this problem. It's not just one thing. Like, you can't just go and be like, yeah, all the police are racist. I mean, yeah, there's some level to truth. Like, there is some racism there, but there's so many other environmental factors that you can't just say, oh, it's this, In Vietnam, we don't use gun. We beat you with our fist. Here, they don't even want to expend the energy. They're so lazy that they don't even want to do that. They'd rather just fire a few bullets at you and go to lunch. That's the other thing. We're too lazy as a system. We automatically go from 0 to 60 like in a heartbeat. We're ready to mow people down. It's absurd. We don't kill you. We beat you up, so you have to pay us more money. Yeah, you would think that's what they would want to do here, but I don't know. I guess they think, look, we got more Americans coming. Don't worry about it. It's irrational hate. It is. That's exactly what it is. It's misplaced. It's misunderstood. It's a lot of it just comes from ignorance, right? Or lack of experience. I would say that's something like I grew up and there was one black person in my town. One. But then I went to school 45 minutes outside of my town, and I basically spent my entire high school with mostly like Puerto Ricans. We had some black guys. We had some black ladies. We had a mix. That helped me. And then I went into the military, and then I was just surrounded by every color, every nationality, everything. And so I have a lot more experience in race and that kind of stuff than probably most people. Yeah, well, shooting stopped being a big deal. Yeah, and like because we get numb to it as a society. What they did is they trained us by putting Law and Order, SVU. They put NCIS. What's the other? Bones. Like we have so many TV shows that glorify police work. Like literally they took over the airways and they made policing cool. And I would argue they did the same thing with the military too. They didn't show you the guy dealing with PTSD after he killed somebody on the front lines. They show you how cool it is to skydive out of an airplane wearing the uniform and being able to play with guns all day. They don't show you the after. There's no before and after shot. I don't know. It's a sad situation all around. We've allowed past presidents to tell us that we needed to have more police officers. There's a video of Bill Clinton giving the State of the Union speech, like 2 years in a row. 1 year he's calling for 100,000 new police around the country to be hired. Then he ups it to 150,000 new police officers around the country. That's a huge amount of police officers. That is, listen, there is 171,000 U.S. Marines in the Marine Corps. He literally wanted to hire another Marine Corps to police our streets, and he did. That's the scary part. And he did. Shooting style, let's see. Law and Order is going on for such a long time. Yeah, because we can't get over it. We freaking love it as a country. I mean, look at those Miami Vice cops. They're all dressed up. They're driving Ferraris around Miami, busting, drug kings and stuff like that. Like, they made that shit look cool. They made cocaine look cool. And we accepted that. Listen, here in the U.S., you will be fined. You will be kicked off the air if you show one boob. That's it. That's all it takes. One boob. One nipple. Do you guys remember when Janet Jackson exposed her nipple during the halftime show with Justin Timberlake? Like, all the old people were grasping their pearls. By the way, beautiful set of breasts. I will give her that, especially at her age. Absolutely stunning. But when you watch her TV and there's murder victims and there's pedophilia murders and serial rapists. We're celebrating shows like Dexter and Sons of Anarchy. We have, as a country, in so many ways, we have our priorities just so wrong. It doesn't make sense how we drive our content. Yeah, it should wrap it up soon. And that all didn't help the national debt. None of this helped the national debt. None of this was done in the name of American people. The only rad cop is the Beverly Hills Cop. Dude, I love Axel. Dude, Axel is the bomb, dude. That's Eddie Murphy right there. He was a cool cop. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying that we don't need cops. We just need cops from the communities that they police. We need cops that are going to serve and protect. I need a cop that's not just pulling people over and giving tickets to make money. I need a cop that's making sure that my community is safe. And that means that he doesn't have to be out in his patrol car, 24/7. I just want a responsive police force that I'm not scared to interact with, or I'm not scared to call. I remember even as a kid, if you would have told me to go and call the police, I would never would I call a cop. And even in adulthood, that has translated into adulthood. I still would never call a cop. It would have to be pretty serious and well out of my control for me to have to call a cop. Because I don't want things to go sideways. I don't even want to risk it. I don't know. So I think we need police reform. I think we're going to get it soon. I truly do. I think that this has exposed a lot that is going wrong. And not just here in the US, but there are plenty of countries that are also dealing with the same level of bullshit. And we need to come together as a community, as a larger community, a world community, and change the way that we allow these people to serve and protect. Instead, it's us against them right now. It doesn't feel good. More guns for civilians or more cops? I don't think it's needed. I don't think more guns is necessarily the answer. Don't get me wrong. I love guns. I just don't think they're the answer. I think so many countries have done it well. My country had very little BS from police. You're lucky, man. You're lucky. Like in the Philippines, we didn't have too much BS from the police. Korea was a great example. Korea, the police almost never messed with you unless they had to. And if they did have to, it usually was not good. I think South Korea has a pretty decent police force. Wish I could own guns. I don't. I don't have a thing for guns. I know a lot of people are like, well, you got to protect your house. Trust me. If you come into this house, I don't need a gun. You'll be lucky. You can bring your gun. You'll be lucky if you leave this house. On your own, at least. Like, I don't need to own a gun to do what I'm going to do to you. Listen, I'm not trying to be a badass. I'm just saying, like, I don't think I need a gun to defend myself on my property. I don't want to kill somebody. In fact, I would probably go out of my way to not kill somebody that broke into my house so they could serve every single day in jail that they need to. I think death is the easy way out for most things, and I highly disagree with the death penalty. I highly disagree with so much in that regard, at least. So we don't even try. After Vietnam, we were scared of everything. Holy cow, dude! The Vietnam War changed so many Americans. My uncles were so messed up from the Vietnam War. They drank themselves. One is dead. The other one is still drinking himself to death. When they came back from the Vietnam War, I had two uncles in the Vietnam War that I'm aware of. And I don't know what they did. I don't know what their level of participation was or anything like that. I mean, but either way, they never probably enjoyed even one happy day of life after they returned from the Vietnam War. And so many people were in that situation. The Vietnam War should never have happened. Never. The Japanese police used pole arms. The Korean police do as well. They use man catchers, really? Yeah, well, the adrenaline will do the rest. Dude, adrenaline is a hell of a drug. Rick James could easily pitch that. In Vietnam, if someone rob you, you are very, very rich. Yeah, same in the Philippines. Like if you're out in the Philippines, they call it being mayabang. It's basically just, out there showing your wealth and everything else. Oh man. All right, guys, we are coming up on the 2-hour mark. And I think this is a perfect place to break. It is time to go on and get ready for the second stream over on Twitch. And if you're watching this on YouTube right now and you're wondering, wow, where'd this guy go? I went to Twitch to do the other half of my day. So I'm going to take about 20 minutes. I'm going to do a few things and I'm going to bring the stream back up. We're going to play some balloons. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm super excited for that. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. This is Tea with Unjacked. I stream over there on Twitch at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, until between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. So feel free to come on over. My username is the same as my YouTube channel, Unjacked. You'll find my channel there. And if you liked what you saw, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment. I'd love to hear from you. And until the next podcast, I hope you guys have a great day.